This is the first fight you've had in a long time. I know we had a little bit of spite at the Canelo Alvarez weigh-in, but this has been bubbling nicely for a long time and must have driven you hard in camp to, put a beating on this guy on Saturday night.
100%. No, I'm definitely looking forward to this one. It's a special one.
Obviously, big fights all around. Gennady Golovkin coming back, Canelo Alvarez fighting Callum-Smith as well. For you, important to make a statement. Great fight, great atmosphere against Chavez, but important to make a statement before you try and become a two-weight world champion at 168 pounds in 2021.
100%. I think with every fight at this level of my career, it needs to be a statement. And me wanting to be a Hall of Famer fighter one day before I retire, I have to go through the likes of all the guys that are super middleweight kings. Gabriel Rosado is a personal grudge match. I won't count this as a stepping stone, but at the same time, I do need to look impressive. I do need to be spectacular. And I do, if I don't get the knockout, I need to at least dominate this guy every round, because he's not in the caliber of a guy that the public thinks, I need to be in that represents, the top tiers of the super middleweight division.
Why is this?
Thank you, Daniel. And we're going to go to the guys on Zoom for questions. Anthony?
Corner man, first question, please.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I have just one question for Danny. Danny, there's a lot of bad blood, building up to this fight. A lot of speculation between you guys. What's the odds that after this fight, you guys, after settling your differences in the ring, you guys shake hands and just move forward as, gentlemen of the sport?
I mean, it's very possible. I mean, I don't hate any man. I mean, life is too good for me to want to hate a guy for the rest of my life. And then my focus is not on having a personal relationship afterwards where, I can say I hate this guy. So men settle their differences like men. And the fact that we're fighters, we're going to do it inside the ring, which makes the most sense. So that's where we're going to end it.
All right, Chad. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Hey, Danny. John here from Pro Boxing Fans. One question for you and one for Eddie, pretty much the same question. The way you've come back from, your tough story that you've had and the way you've responded, I just want to know sort of how you reflect on that as a fighter and a person, and perhaps Eddie as the promoter, like what you've made of Danny's story and return.
Well, I mean, I think that it's a sheer blessing that I can be at this point in my life, not only career, but in my life, to have a second opportunity to live and to thrive and, to have a successful career. And so the opportunities that I continually have, I'm grateful for, but I have an amazing team. And, I put in the work as well to make sure that we always can have these opportunities to be a household name, to be a future world champion, class division world champion. And for my team, they're just making sure they're putting that support behind me to make sure that I get these opportunities, such as the one that I have now and, in the near future going against the top tiers of the super middleweight division.
Yeah, for me, Jonathan, I mean, some people may know, some people might not, but Danny was actually the first fighter we ever signed in the US, and I remember meeting him there at the what used to be the Trump Hotel at the time with his manager, who's become a great friend, Keith Connolly. And, I wanted to make a statement with Danny Jacobs. He helped us get a deal initially with HBO. He came with us and took the punt with us to DAZN, and we delivered him the biggest fight in boxing. That didn't work out, but we had a plan to return to the super middleweight division. He did that against Chavez. Now he fights Rosado. The story is fantastic. And, again, not a lot of people will know. I was there the night that he boxed Dimitri Pirro. I was actually there as a fan, just in Vegas, and I remember watching that fight and the way he's come back from that, with the Quillen victory. And of course, the Gennady Golovkin fight, which he definitely could have won that fight, when you look back at the Derevenchenko win, that win looks better and better, as time goes on. So I really see him as a guy, but ever since I've been involved, the story's been great, but now it's really about cementing the legacy, not just as, a cancer survivor, but as a multi-weight world champion. And I think that's important to Dan as well. I think he wants to motivate people, and we all want to tell his story because it's incredible and it's uplifting. But I think as well, he has a real drive to create a legacy in the sport as a champion. And I've always felt that 168 was his division. You know, even when I see him, you know, I didn't know him too well, and I'd see him make weight, I feel like you'd be a beast at 168. And I think it's going to take time. And I think the Chavez was the first one. And I think he'll look great on Saturday night, Friday night as well. And then, you know, then he's the next step after this. There's no more intermediary fights. It's Billy Joe Saunders. You know, it's Callum-Smith. It could be Gennady Golovkin again. It could be Canelo again. You know, but that's the fights for Daniel Jacobs beyond this fight. This is something that I think is a really interesting fight. It's a fun fight. But he's the favourite to win this fight. He's just got to do that in style to put out a message to the rest of the division.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Danny, Steven Cordeno with KOR Sports. How you doing, man?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
Good, good. On Saturday night, do you feel any pressure to maybe make it a spectacular performance to get your name, you know, back in the mix with, you know, Canelo, Callum-Smith, Bivol, Plant? You know, obviously your name's kind of right around there already, but, you know, do you need the performance to be great to then kind of force these guys to start talking about you again?
Well, Saturday night, hopefully I'll be around my friends watching the Mike Tyson fight. But Friday night,
Friday, sorry.
No, it's all good. Friday night, I definitely, I feel like it's important to always look spectacular. You always have to send a message with your performance, whether it's to the fans, that you're still relevant, that you're still one of the top players in the game, and also to, you know, my peers in the boxing game. You know, the super middleweight division is a new division for me, so I need to come in and make a statement regardless to who I'm in there with. I think Gabriel Rosado is maybe not the most skillful fighter or respected fighter in terms of being the top tiers of the division. So if I would do anything else other than have a spectacular performance, I think it would do, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be great for my career. But like I said before, every time I'm in it with a fight, I want to make a statement.
That was actually my quick follow-up. Did you ever think you'd be fighting on the fight week of your Brownsville brother there, Mike Tyson?
Well, it's so crazy, right? It's awesome. It's pretty cool, but it's a blessing to be able to follow in the footsteps of guys like Mike Tyson and all the Brooklyn Knights that paved the way for me. So us to be on the same fights, the same weekend where I get to perform first and then, you know, have the OG take over. I think it'll be a performance for a lifetime for me, but also to see him back at it would be a great thing. So I'm just excited to be around in boxing and be doing what I love to do.
Thank you, Danny. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Hi, Danny Ford here from Viper Sport. Just a quick one. We'll follow up with the Mike Tyson question there. How do you see it going on Saturday, and what's your thoughts of him fighting at this age?
Well, I mean, I always got to go with my Brooklyn Knights, and Mike Tyson is one of my favorite fighters of all time. He's probably the most inspirational fighter that's been in boxing for me, being that we come from the same roots and have a lot of the same different experiences coming from the same neighborhood. So I love Mike. I'm going to always support Mike, but Roy Jones was one of my favorite fighters of all time. So it's kind of like a bittersweet moment, but I look forward to seeing Mike being victorious. I just hope none of the guys get hurt. I know they're up there in age, and I just want to see a good fight, but, you know, I also want to see them come out unscathed.
For sure. And now, look, you're fighting at a time where all the super middleweights are fighting in and around the same time. I know you want that second world title. Who are you keeping your eye on the most, and for what reason exactly?
I wouldn't say it's one in particular fighter that I'm keeping my eye on the most. I would say it's everyone. And then the landscape of boxing, sometimes a win or a loss kind of puts you in a situation to where you have to kind of see what's out there or settle for the winner or the loser. So I'm worried about Friday night, obviously, but after Friday night, seeing how the landscape goes into 2021, we're going to take it from there. But I'm going to be extremely ready for whatever comes my way, and I look forward to being a super middleweight champion.
Thank you so much, brother. All the best on Friday night.
Thank you.
Reggie next, please.
What's good, Ben?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
I'm all right. How important is it for you to, you know, rough year? This allows you to get a fight in the calendar year. You know, how important is it for you to get this action and then set up what you like to get done in 2021?
I think it's critical. I'm fortunate enough to be one of the fighters who actually can fight in 2020, because a lot of fighters, including top tier fighters, haven't had an opportunity to fight this year because of the pandemic. So I've been fortunate enough to have a team to where we can, end this year with a fight and go into 2021 with that experience, maybe getting the rust out from not being in the ring for almost a year. And then I can be super ready for these top guys in the division. But I'm just, like I said before, I'm thankful for my team for allowing me to have this opportunity.
I caught you on the Akim Barak show. They mentioned doing a post weigh-in interview. You weren't looking so good going into the fight with Canelo. Weight was probably bothering you. Some of us guys get on here with our articles about you not being able to rise to the moment, but we don't know the backstory.
Right,
so
right.
how's the engine feeling, in case you need to really step on the gas Friday night at this weight?
Well, at this point, I feel like there is going to be no preventions from me being my 100% best. I've always said that the weight was an issue, especially when we came to the Canelo fight, which was the biggest fight, and we had the weight stipulations that was against us. That made it extremely hard for me to be 100% comfortable inside that ring. And it showed. I think anybody that knows Daniel Jacobs at his best can see how he performs at his best. And I didn't get a chance to do that. Having an opportunity to be at super middleweight, my first fight was with Chavez. You've seen the results to that. You see how snappy I was, how elusive I was, how strong I was. And, just me putting my best foot forward and being at my very best. You've seen that. And now this is going to be a continuation of that. Just me having no excuses whatsoever because there's no stipulations now that I can make the weight, now I can be 100%. Now I'm going to go into each fight 100% confident, and you're going to be able to see my best version. So moving forward, you're going to see a lot of performances like the Chavez and better.
All right, best of luck to you, man.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Boxing Source, please.
Hey there, Daniel. This is Jared Bell of the Boxing Source. What's going on?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. I know that you have this fight here on Friday, but next year you had the potential of being in position to fight for a world title, and you're highly ranked in the WBO. So what about a potential fight between you and Billy Joe Saunders for that WBO championship? How would that look?
I think it looks fantastic. It's definitely appealing to me. I think it's a fight that could be made easily. But I've been calling Billy Joe out for some time now. And so hopefully we're in this position to where if we both can win our fights, that's a strong possibility for us to go into the near future. It only makes sense, I didn't catch him at middleweight. Hopefully I can catch him at super middleweight. But my whole main focus is to be a 2-division world champion and future Hall of Famer. So the fact that I have options and opportunities to fight other fighters if one fighter don't want to fight or if something falls through, I'm just very fortunate to have these opportunities. But I do think a Billy Joe Saunders fight makes sense.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Danny. This is Jeremy Harridges with Fansided.com. I was talking to Gabe Rosado a couple weeks ago, and he sourced the bad blood between you two to an incident that happened.
I think I've seen that interview.
Yeah, that happened in 2018 at the Cosmopolitan, leading up to the Triple G Canelo rematch, he said. Do you have any recollection of that? And I was interested to hear your side of the events that may have transpired.
Well, I mean, I've said it so many times, but it's basically, generally, I just think it was one of those situations where he had said some things that he was physically going to do to me if he ever seen me in person. And so I seen him in person and gave him the opportunity to do just that. And his energy wasn't the same. And so I kind of questioned him, why he make those statements. And overall, it was just pretty much to get a fight. So I respect any fighter who could be honest, but I can't respect a fighter who is saying disrespectful things to me as a man. And so this is why this fight is being made, because of some of his past comments and the blatant disrespect that I've been taking, over the years, honestly. And he's a peer of mine since the amateurs into the professional ranks. And so I've always said that his career didn't go the way that he planned. And my career has gone exactly how I wanted to go, with the minor setbacks. But, it's just, I think he's bitter. And, now he has an opportunity to get everything that he wanted. And boxing is one of those sports to where, you can have crappy career, your whole entire career, but one fight can actually change you and catapult you into being a superstar. And this is his opportunity. And so he's talked his way into this opportunity, but at the same time, how I'm looking at it is just, you know, giving a man his words to eat and allowing him to know that there's different levels and I'm not non-deserving of this opportunity or the push that I've had throughout my career, and more so just to put a little bit more respect speaking.
Thank you, Danny, and best of luck.
Thank you.
Cynthia, please.
Hey, Danny, Cynthia Conte from Ring TV.
Hey.
I just wanted to piggyback off of Jeremy's question because he basically had almost the same question I had. But going back to that incident, I did speak with him the other day, and he said that he just doesn't like you as a person. Was there any other incident before that you guys had any kind of bad blood or something happen, or was it just basically your guys' come up and he didn't come up the way he was expecting?
I really don't know why he has so much hate for me in his heart, but when you're a hater, you create any reasons to hate somebody. And when you see someone who you think you're supposed to be on that same level, having the success that you desire and you want, and you can't get it, whether it's because, you know, you don't have the same skill set or you're not winning fights or you're just whatever you are. I mean, I can't speak for it because I'm not a hater, you know. I can't speak on how a hater mentality thinks. I'm one who congratulates. I'm one who supports anybody in the sport of boxing. And so if I have someone that I want to fight, it's not going to be because, you know, they got the push that I didn't get. It's going to be mainly because I want to be in a position to be a champion. And if they're preventing me from being a champion, then I want to fight you in order to be a champ. But it is not simply because, you know, you've gotten a push that I didn't get and I'm fighting you because the system didn't, you know, push me the same way. And I took my extensive, successful amateur background has allowed me from the very start to get the push from the Al Haymans of the world and the Golden Boys of the world and the Zones of the world and the Matchrooms of the world. So I purposely put in the work as an amateur to be able to obtain the success early on in my career. And people had high hopes for my career. And my career went exactly how people with minor setbacks, people predicted this for my career because of the hard work that I put in. So it's not non-deserving. And when you have a guy who says all of this, he's not getting the fair share, he's not getting that, maybe you didn't do what you needed to do. And I put in that work since I was 14 years old. I made all the necessary sacrifices. I didn't have a teenage life. I didn't go to parties. I didn't deal with girls. I knew that if I sacrificed all my life as a kid, that I would have a successful pro debut. My whole idea was to be like Andre Ward when he came out of the Olympics with a gold medal. That was always my dream. I always wanted to have that gold medal going into the pro ranks and being that superstar. So it was something that I worked hard for. And so his career didn't shape up to be that. And now he's jealous and saying that the system is against him and that, you know, he isn't getting the same push. But you got to understand, you can't hate on somebody who's put in that work. You can't hate on somebody who is humble enough to say, hey, my brother, I have nothing against you, but at the same time, I'm just doing me. And what I'm doing is putting me in a position to be successful, to have the HBOs and to have the Showtimes and all these the zones and all these different networks be interested in me because, you know, I put in that work. It's not non-deserving, you know? So I can't speak for a hater. I can only speak for myself. And, you know, much success to anybody who is doing anything in this boxing world, because it takes a hell of a man to put on 2 pair of gloves and go in there and risk your life for a paycheck.
Okay, and last question. If you could describe yourself in one word and also Gabriel Rosado in one word, what would it be?
Well, if I could describe myself in one word, it'll be miracle. I mean, obviously having a second chance at life and being able to strive, and I'd gained all the success and lost it and had to gain it again. I mean, people really don't understand just the roller coaster in which my life, it details, like, I've been through a lot, and so for someone to say that it's non-deserved, it's like injustice, man. And that's why I really want him to eat his words, because he don't know in how depth his words strike when he say the things that he says, because I know exactly the hardship that I had to go through to get to the position that I'm at. He's talking like he's had a hard life. My brother, I had a hard life too. I come from the trenches. I come from the dirt, and I fought my way out, and I fought to be in this position. And so he's going to eat his words. So if I can explain him in one word, hater.
Best of luck to you, because thank you.
Thank you.
Matt next, please.
Matt from Behind the Gloves. I just wanted to know, you've mentioned a few times you want to make him eat his words. Now, does that mean that you have to win this fight by knockout to be satisfied?
No, I mean, I just want to beat him up. I just want to hear when I hit him with a body shot, him cringe, or, we know he's a bleeder, so I look forward to, his trunks being stained, my trunks being stained full of his blood, and I'm going to hang it up in somewhere somewhere in my house with a plaque. That's going to make me satisfied, because I know the pain that I'm going to put this man through because of some of the hateful things that he said for me throughout the years. And so this is the only way a fighter could get that revenge. This is the only way two men who are boxers get there and settle their debts.
Just one more from me. Providing you do get the win on Friday night, what's your ideal scenario? Is it the winner of, say, Canelo and Smith? Where do you want to go? If you could choose, what's the route?
Well, if I can choose, man, it's just anybody with the belt. I just want to be a two-time world champion. I have the team. Keith Connolly's my manager. He's the best manager in the game. I assure you that I'm going to set myself up in a position to get an opportunity to fight for a belt. And the landscape of the super middleweight division is amazing. I think that, winner or loser of the Canelo-Smith fight is an opportunity. Billy Joe Saunders is an opportunity. I've been calling out, Jamal Charlo for years now. So these are all fights that could be made. And I look forward for my team to make the right decision for me. At the same time, we have options, and that's the beautiful thing about this situation.
Cheers, and good luck Friday, Danny.
Thank you.
YSM, please.
Hi, Danny. How's it going?
Good, thank you.
What skills or abilities does Gabriel Rosado possess that could possibly make this a difficult fight?
You're making me think on this one. Boxing is a very unpredictable sport. And there's been times that I've actually went into a fight thinking that one fighter was going to offer something different, or, something what I'm used to or what we trained for from his past fights. And then he gave me a completely different fight. And so, you always just have to be professional and you have to adjust. And so if there's a situation in this fight where I need to adjust, I think I'll do just that. But I don't know if I'll see a different Gabriel Rosado. I know he says he has Freddie Roach in his corner, and he vows that he's going to do things differently like he hasn't been doing before. I don't know. I don't know if it's that easy to change your whole style or to teach your old dog new tricks. I really don't know. And it's not like, you cannot polish. You maybe be a little bit more polished, but I feel like we've seen the best Gabriel Rosado. But as a professional, I think it's my job to train and be ready for anything. And that's where the respect lies. Me training 100% to be ready for whatever Gabriel Rosado shows up.
Thanks, Danny. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Danny, how's it going?
Good, thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Hey, I saw you, gulping some water. We're a few days away from the fight. I would imagine being at this new weight, it's so much more. You don't have to constantly think about wait, and you're able to take the water that otherwise you wouldn't be drinking because you're having to cut to weight. Talk to me about physically, how good of a feeling is it to be at a weight where you could be a little bit more, you could take in a little bit more food and drink a little bit more water during these weeks?
Well, I just think it takes the stress off of not, focusing 100% solely on the fight. And when you're training for a fighter, especially at this level, we're at a level where we have to be extremely focused for the fight. You can't slack, you can't, be unfocused. You have to go in there with a clear mind. And I think the fact that 85% of my camps have been based off of just training and to lose the weight. Now we're at a position to where we don't really have to focus on the losing weight part. We can focus on polishing up our skills, specifically training for a fighter in their bad habits to be successful. And I think we're doing just that. So yes, I'm a little bit more vibrant. I'm definitely able to take a lot more water and food. It's unheard of for me to even eat on the weigh-in or the day before the weigh-in, which I look forward to and for the rest of my career.
It leads me to something that I've talked to you before in the past. You've mentioned because of the weight cut, it's affected you at times in fights. Are you expecting that much more out of you now at 168, to be able to get more out of your body in these bigger caliber fights when they do come?
100%. 100%. And I think that if you're depleted, I don't think you can give that extra oomph that you need to when it's time to get down and dirty and gritty. I think in order to bring out the dog in the fighter, if you need to be able to have the nutrition to be able to properly go out and give it a good go. So for me, not knowing, or not that it's not knowing, but knowing that that's not a problem, I can go in there confidently. And if I need to tap in, I can tap in confidently. So.
Good stuff, Danny. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Danny, good morning. Gail Falkenthal. Apologies for the dog. She gets excited when she hears champions talk. She is a boxer.
That's awesome.
She is the boxer after all, so that's
awesome.
That's her thing. I believe this has been the longest layoff of your pro career. Is that correct? I mean, by just a little bit.
My manager's right here. Is this the longest layoff that we had? Except for the cancer. Oh, except for the cancer that I had. But yeah.
Right, aside from that.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
That's a long time between fights, and you've had to cope with pandemic conditions all that time. Yeah. So how have you stayed in shape, kept focused, prepared, and are you at all concerned about any ring rust?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to lie, 100%. I am worried a little bit about ring rust because obviously during this pandemic, me being based in Atlanta, the cases were really, really spiking high. And it was a worry to even come outside. And so the first half of the pandemic, I didn't really get the best training. I made training camp in my home and did the best that I can do on my own. But obviously, you need a training team to be able to give the proper boxing training. And so we didn't get that to, I would probably say the second half. And then we made sure that we had 11, 12 weeks of camp so we can try to get the rust out. But, you never know until you actually go inside the ring and you perform. So I think Gabriel Rosado was the perfect fighter to fight coming out of this pandemic. I mean, no excuses. For me, I know I have to still go in there and be professional and look my best and give it my best. But at the same time, the world affects a fighter, especially in these conditions, and you have to be realistic. And, kudos to all the fighters out there who are going through this pandemic and taking fights and still, giving it their best. I respect all of them, and I respect everyone who puts their pair of gloves on and risks their lives. But, my situation is a little bit different. I really didn't have the best training that I could possibly have, but I'm 100% confident in the 11, 12-week camp that I had leading up into this camp, and it's been one of the best camps that I've had. And so we took every proper precaution to where we didn't get, COVID, or we stayed away from potential threats, or just in general, we made sure we was precautious. And so I look forward to coming and Friday night being victorious.
Good luck to you. Thanks so much for giving up your Thanksgiving weekend for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you.
Hey, Danny, John here, Pro Boxing fans. One more question we've obviously mentioned potential future fights with Billy Joe Saunders, Callum-Smith. With Callum-Smith facing Canelo, what do you think he has to do to beat Canelo, and what have you learned from that defeat that you're taking into Friday night?
What I've learned from that fight that I'm taking into Friday night, I've already done, and that's move up to the super middleweight division. I think I wasn't able to be my 100% self or be able to give it the best go that I could because of the weight clause and the weight restrictions that I had on top of already having a hard time with making the middleweight division. Now that I'm extremely fit, I don't have weight as an issue anymore. I'm super hydrated and, I only have the fight to worry about. I think it's going to be different every time out. From my performances, you're going to see a different Danny Jacobs. And, people even predicted that me moving up and fighting Chavez, that I wasn't going to be the same because of my past performances. And, Marco can tell you, there was a lot of people who predicted that Chavez was going to beat me. But at the same time, I knew that there's a certain level of fighter that lives within me that if I'm 100% with no restrictions on me, that I can be at my very best and I can give it a good go. And you've seen what? Chavez quit on the stool. And so I'm excited to be able to continue my performances like that, but continue to be better. I have a new trainer now, Faris Samad. This is our third fight together. And he's an OG of the game. So, he's a former fighter as well. He trained the Army team on USA Boxing. So he's very knowledgeable of the game. And so we've come up with a great, not only plan for boxing, but during my off days too, or during my time where I'm not actually boxing. He comes to Atlanta, we train together. So he's a very active trainer. And I think that's key and critical for me at this point in my career to be able to have a trainer that's so heavily involved in me and heavily into my training and, just my techniques and the skill set. But I know I'm going overboard with it, but at the same time, it's but to answer your first question, what does Caleb has to do? I just think he has to create a great game plan in order to beat Canelo. He has a lot of advantages, but the main disadvantage is probably be the experience. And so sometimes fighters who are in a new situation to where the lights, the camera, the action is on them, sometimes they fold. And so we never know. And I can't give a prediction, but I just have to say, in order for Caleb to be successful, he would have to use his strengths and cater to his strengths. And I think, it'll be an interesting fight, but I can't predict the winner. So.
Cheers, Danny. Best of luck.
Thank you.